All right, we should be live on YouTube here. So, welcome everyone. This is the Node.js release working group meeting. Today is the 8th February 2024. And yeah, well, we do have a small agenda here today. I want to start by asking if anyone has any announcements they want to make. If not, maybe Marco, do you want to share status for the security updates?
Yeah, so we created the proposals. Now we're just waiting for the CI to get green to pass, and there are some issues on 20, so it might be delayed. Rafael proposed to delay to next week, but I think in the next few hours we will know if it's going to be the case or not.
Right, so to be defined during the day. Yeah.
Yep.
Sounds good. Okay. So yeah, we can start the agenda here. If you can help me take notes in the minutes. Let me go and share my screen here for the scheduling of the release lines. Just a second. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yep, we can see it.
Okay, so should we start from, well, maybe we should start with current, right? So I noticed that Rafael has had one schedule here for the 11, but is that delayed because of the security releases? Potentially, right? Like I'm not really aware if I was not here today, but yeah. But that said, like we do have room here for more releases this month and March.
I don't think the January release happened either. The 29 January, I don't think that release happened either.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think the last one is the 2161, if I remember well, and now we go with the 2162 with the security, right? So yeah, the last one seems not accurate. Yeah.
I see. So yeah, if anyone wants to take on the next release here following up on February, I think it's be a good one, yeah.
So I would volunteer myself to help with the release, but I'm not a releaser yet, so I would like to help in any way that I can.
Right, Marco. Yeah, remind me, have you done the two releases pairing with someone to understand the process? Have you done those yet, or
I'm doing
not
them
really?
right now. The security release. I think that the
Right.
standard release might be a bit different, so it would be great to do those with someone.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah. Okay, yeah. Let's try to find someone and hopefully have Marco have you pair with someone for follow up this month. I think that'd be the ideal. And yeah. Then you can join the ranks, right? Like you can contribute to them to more of those moving forward. Cool. Okay. Then 20. Richard, I see your name here for one late in February.
Yeah, so both on 20 and 18, I put my name down for a release. Although the reason I've got some time to do that is we're in Red Hat's interested in the npm update that's currently sitting on the main branch of Node, so that's npm 10.3.0. So we'd like to get that into an LTS release, but it's not going out in current yet. So we're kind of, whenever we can get the next current release out with that npm release out, then shortly following that, I can do I've got time that I can spend to do a 20 and 18 release.
That's great. Yeah. So yeah, going to 18, it's maintenance. So like you volunteering, right? Like to
Yes,
do an extra release here. And
yeah, there is actually stuff on there are open backports and stuff on it for 18. So yeah, there are things that can land. We'll we'll see.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
Do you have a-
definitely,
do you have-
definitely we would like at least the npm update to be taken back to that, because npm 10 has a regression in signal handling, so npm 10.3 fixes that. And for things like Node 18, it was previously on npm 9, I think. Node 18 was upgraded to npm 10 towards the end of last year, sort of around October-ish. So prior to that, we're using an older version of npm, and then once npm 10 dropped into that, it's now had this signal handling regression, and it's particularly an issue in containers. So if you're running a container running and the container is running like npm start, then npm doesn't actually prior to npm 10.3, it's got a regression in npm 10 where signals are not passed on to child processes, which means you try and kill the thing in your container and it doesn't actually kill it off properly. So that's the reason that I've got agreement to be able to spend some time, work time that is, on future releases.
Fun. Yeah. Is there any other top of your mind, like on the because I know there's 18 like has a bunch of backport with folks asking for some extra things to land.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you're targeting or in particular?
I don't know. So there's a big one that Joy has open, which I guess I need to remind myself what that was actually trying to fix. So it's grouping together a whole bunch of things. And it looks reasonably complicated, but I kind of need to find out what the reason for that was. If it's to actually unblock an upgrade path, then I might be more amenable to it. If it's a just general performance related thing, then I'd probably exclude it. So, just as an effort, from my point of view, 18 now being in maintenance, if a change is purely a performance thing for 18, I wouldn't bother backporting it to 18, because kind of want people to start winding down the usage of 18. And well, I mean, it's got about another year left. Yeah, but kind of want to encourage people to move up. So 18 is kind of things that are regressions, like the signal handling npm thing, and then other things depending on a balance between like risk and what it's doing. See, I did open a small, for example, documentation thing. Documentation things will be fine to land if they're accurate. But yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As a reminder, like
yeah. For Node 20, we're still so there was a regression in handling Windows paths in libuv. So there is a libuv PR opened, which I think will address that. So, well, sorry, there was a libuv update that went into 21, which I think can be backported to Node 20. So again, Node 20, the next release should contain a libuv update as well, which should help the people that have hit that regression. But again, I'm can't say exactly when that will be out, because I'm kind of waiting for the other thing to.
Yeah. No, great. Yeah. I was just gonna say as a reminder, like the 18 is now maintenance, so it's kind of a best effort, right? Like it's gonna be up to your judgment what's going in it and like what's safe enough to go or not, right?
Yeah. I mean, effectively, that's the case. The default position is that nothing automatically gets into Node 18 now, unless it's deemed to be some sort of security or critical fix. Regressions. So if something regresses in Node 18, which hopefully it will do less because we're trying to be more selective about what goes in, but regressions are things that can be fixed. And then interoperability is one of those things which is kind of up to the discretion of our team. That has to be balanced with risk. So yes, I've just remembered that there is an open 18 backport for the. You have to forgive me if I get the terminology wrong here. There's I think something to do with import assertions and the keyword being used for that. So instead of being, I think it was assert, and then there's a new keyword with, or something like that. And there's a discussion on the Node repo which says the old keyword is being removed from V8. And then a discussion about what we do in Node, whether it should be flagged. But one of the things was, at the moment, Node 18 doesn't support the new keyword, which means you'd have to use the old keyword if you're on 18. But the idea is you'd be using the newer keyword on the newer releases. I think for 18, as long as all we're doing is adding the new keyword, I'm open to landing that backport for interoperability. I don't want to do anything to 18 in terms of like deprecating the existing key. The existing keyword I want to leave alone. I don't want to warn or deprecate or anything like that. But if it's just adding the new keyword so that people can write code and it sort of works on that and the newer versions, then that sounds like a reasonable thing to be doing, assuming the patch isn't too scary, horrendous, because obviously it'll be a V8 thing. So, but yeah, that's the sort of interop thing. So I don't think we want to be pulling huge features back, but if on balance. And I think there may have been a Node API thing as well that was requested, which again I'll have to look at and see. But typically, I think in the past we have taken small Node API changes.
Okay. I think for the rest of the release scheduling here, let's take the action item of poking more folks in the release channel. Make sure we have someone on iron for 20 to pair with Marco, 21, and then hopefully also 20 can get someone else lined up for the next release on March. Okay, that's it. Let's move on to the next item on the agenda here. We have the PGP keys verification. Ulysses, you opened that one. Want to talk about it?
I think that's almost solved, I think. Yeah, we made the changes in documentation. So the idea, if I remember well, was to the PGPs that we use for signature the releases, we should include also that on the GitHub profiles, so we can just verify that this key is used by that person. That's just an additional thing. So that is in the documentation. I'm not very sure if everybody has added their PGPs to that. I can do just a check, go in the README, see who is in the list, and just ping individually if someone is missing, and then we can just close it. I think if that's okay for all of us, then I think we can solve this.
Great,
I think
yeah.
you have to have your keys tied to your GitHub account in order to sign the tag. Otherwise, you won't be able to sign the release. I mean, you have to, because I have tried to release with different machines and I get the error like that key is not found. So you have to, it's an obligation, basically.
Yeah, it might be that maybe the case that they refer was someone who has an old PGP key, so they might change the keys or something. Because it was one specific example, I think. Because yeah, in my case was already set up that way, but I think we find someone on the team, not remember who has a similar problem on that. So yeah, I will double check that because yeah, I don't remember the full context actually, but yeah, I think was.
No, but if I understand correctly, I don't think it needs validation on the key you're using on GitHub. I think at most GitHub is going to show a check mark, like verified, right in the comments for the tagging, right? But I don't think it prevents you from pushing that tag. I think what you're mentioning, Juan, is more on the when it's time to promote. I think it's the promote script that will break in case it's not signed with the proper key.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I think what Liz was talking about is making sure everyone kind of has that key in their GitHub too.
Yeah, that's it. So yeah, because sometimes you can verify your commits or not, but so some people might not have that set up. So just to cover that gap.
Makes sense. Sorry.
No worries, no, that's good. It's good to clarify to everyone. Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Okay, and then we have that proposal that we honestly like. I think there was one meeting that had the conversation, and I was not able to stick around for it. Do we want to talk about it today? I think we still have some time left here. Maybe Richard, do you want to give some context on where the conversation landed last time?
I really don't remember. I think part of the thing was that only a few people on this team were actually there at the summit where this was discussed. So I
And
wasn't,
even
so
then,
I don't have much context.
I was
And
there, but I kind of
when you-
missed the first half of the conversation. I got there, like they kind of gave me the summary, but like I was not participating actually.
So I think from my point of view, there seems to be a sort of here's some data, and then this is a conclusion, and this is how we're going to fix the problem. And I'm looking at the data, and I'm not sure I draw the same conclusions, which then sort of, yeah, I don't know. It's basically the position in that issue is that nobody is using current. I disagree with that. I think it's fair to say that less people are using current because we do encourage people to use the LTS releases. So the download numbers show that the LTS releases are by far more heavily downloaded than the current releases. But I don't think you can easily you can't say nobody is using current. I mean, we have people opening issues in Node against the current release. Now, it is fair to say that we would like more people to be using the current release, or we would try to encourage people to test things before they end up getting backwards to LTS, and that may be a problem. I don't know if that can be fixed with the proposal that's in this, because my reading of the proposal is that it's just shuffling labels around and sort of, you're still effectively going to have a current release, but somehow not being called a current release. And then it's like almost like you're trying to trick people into picking things up. But I think we'd still take the position that whatever we end up that release being called, we wouldn't want people to be running production code on it, until some stabilization time. So I think it's mainly sort of tinkering around without really solving the problem. That's my own personal point of view. Obviously, it's a group, we should be discussing that as a group. I am keen that it is this group that ultimately makes a decision on this, because unless the TSC decides to revoke our charter, the responsibility of the policy is actually delegated to us. So despite I have seen things in the past in terms of releases and sort of some TSC members making perhaps uninformed comments on how the releases should be done or things along those lines. But at the moment, everything in the release policy and stuff has been delegated to us. So we have the responsibility of making those decisions, and we can decide not to do anything, to keep things as is. But yeah, it's there was obviously discussion. The context is a little bit, yeah. There's what is in the issue, and then I don't know anything beyond that, and I don't know where we go. It's very easy to talk about what we could be doing, but I think we need to be reasonably confident as a group that it's worth making the changes to do it, because not only might it maybe process wise it might not be too much, but in terms of communication, there is an expectation, or at least we try to communicate the release policy, widely to the ecosystem. Now, there are pockets and places where it appears that people are unaware of the release policy, which is, another fair thing. But, for a long time, we've had the policy on the README of the release repo, and, we do update it from time to time. I know in the past we shortened the active maintenance periods and, increased the maintenance phase. But the idea that the current releases are sort of 6 to 7 months, and then the LTS releases are 3 years. Subdivided into other phases. That's a sort of established pattern. So that's not to say we can't change it, but if we change it, we need to be clear why we're changing it and then communicate that out so that people are aware, because things like the cadence of releases, like LTS releases. I know Node 16 we cut short because the openness cell end of life, but in general, there's an expectation that Node long-term support releases have an expected lifetime. We do one every year, and then if you go to that release, you should be good for about 3 years worth of updates. So yeah, I'm not opposed to making no changes, but I equally don't want to just make a change unless we're reasonably confident that that's what we want to do as a group. And we've had other proposals before. So I think James made a proposal once about having like rolling, effectively like a rolling current release where it's and then sort of take the cuts on that. But again, it's all. I think that one probably would have taken process changes to implement. So yeah, I don't know where we go with this, whether there is more discussion to be had, or whether it's an idea and then, if no one's really pushing for it, it's sort of.
Yeah, we can try to form a consensus on the group. I'm not sure about quorum. Like, do we need to actually pull this conversation offline so that we can have input from everyone of the, from the working group? But I do agree 100% with the sentiment that like this is a big disruption. Like, and there's got to be a big upside, right? Like
yeah, I'm almost tempted to say that it's going to be. It's almost too late in the day for Node 22. Node 22 is out in what, month and a half's time, and that might be something we need to discuss because I don't think we've got a releaser for that yet. I don't, if we are going to change, I don't think we've got much time left to make that decision, because I think we really want Node 22 to go out as a current release with an idea of what its life cycle is going to look like. And at the moment, the life cycle is going to look like what's in the release schedule, which is the sort of typical 3-year, 6 months as current, and then going into, becoming an LTS in October, and then, a year of, so that's the current planned life cycle for Node 22. And if we want to change that, I think that needs to be changed, ideally this month, which I don't know. I'm a little bit apprehensive about being bounced into a change. So I don't know. I kind of feel that I'm open to having discussions over the release policy, but yeah, it's kind of.
Yeah. Is there anyone from the group that has a strong, any strong different opinion they would like to voice today? I think I do agree with the sentiment from Richard and some of, I was reading the thread, like some of the comments from Beth. I'm also 100% on board. So I think we just need to kind of like make sure we document the consensus and we can kind of move on from that proposal, like if it's not something we want to implement. Or maybe I think as an action item, next step here, we can maybe broadcast to the channels where we have the rest of the working group participants there and just see if anyone has kind of like wants to champion this, like wants to see any changing of the way the schedule works today. Does that sound reasonable, Richard?
Yeah, I think that's reasonable.
Okay.
I was just scanning through the issue again, and yeah, there's things like if the proposer is proposing renaming that what we call the releases, then that actually has an effect on the ecosystem for things like NVM. At the moment you can do NVM install LTS, and you get something, an NVM install current, you get something. Obviously, if we decide to change what we call releases, then that has a knock-on effect to, well, we know NVM, and then who knows, maybe other package manager, version managers. I don't know what N or is it Volt? There's a bit of Volta. There's various other node, third-party node pack version managers that might be affected. Even like GitHub Actions could be affected if we change what we call releases. So it's not to say we can't do it, but we've got to be very mindful of the fact that if we do change something, it could have significant action needed outside of Node.
Yes, and even some infrastructure would need to also change, update, right? I imagine that's something that is referred in our index file or for the releases. Yeah. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll try to take this. I'll try to take on these action items here of posting those messages to the group.
Okay.
And yeah, I think that was kind of all in the agenda for today. Is there anything else anyone wants to bring up? Oh, maybe one more thing that just came to my mind. I know we just discussed yesterday confirming a collaborator summit in London happening. So we should definitely try to have a meeting there for the working group. That'd be nice. And hopefully, yeah, see
who's
some of
able
you.
to. Yeah, it depends who's able to attend. So I'm hoping to be there.
I think I'll be there.
So yeah, we definitely, if we get
Awesome.
people, that'd be good.
Yeah, I should be there too. So you should have quorum for a meeting there. Awesome.
That's good.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so yeah, with that, thank you everyone.